Good morning. This is an impromptu little video here, but I was sitting here for the last hour and a half, going on 2 hours now, doing our little, routine, and really slowed things down this morning because I was just still really exhausted from the day prior. And as I was sitting here, just contemplating doing it, we're working on our nails right now. Actually, we were picking off. Oh my gosh, they look kind of frugged up right now. I'm picking off the old polish so that we can fix them up here and let them breathe for a bit before we do our next manicure here. Yeah, I was thinking this past color, this pink pursuit with the hollow on it, would have been good for the Libra full moon we have coming up here that I'm gonna be filming the video for this upcoming weekend before we get to that next week to try and get on top of that and get it uploaded hopefully early this time. I don't know, we'll see. But I was like, this manicure would have been great for that video, but we're a little bit ahead of things still, the way we're working. Yeah, so we want our nails to breathe for a bit before we do the bright red set for Aries season here. But yeah, a little slow morning activity, something for us to do. And we're just we've got our, what is this called here? This, wait, my depth perception is this here on our TV. We've got one of our, what is this called? They're ambiances. You can search up online. I have a bunch of them in both our morning and evening playlists. I think we have more in the morning because in the evening, by the end of the day, because we usually work into second shift too, we're so tired that our evening routine isn't as grand or expansive as the morning is. But in the morning time, when we're in a, what's the word? When we're on a roll, in a flow with things, then we will put these on in the morning sometimes, depending on the weather and the mood, things like that, just as a slow, kind of quieter way to start the day. Yeah, so we have this one on. We've been using a lot for the late winter, early spring here because it's still quite cold and cloudy, overcast a lot, today is. We're still only hitting the 40s temperature wise here today. So originally we were planning to go out to either the creek or the park again before I went into work later today. And then again, as I was going through the morning here, and after taking our morning supplements and going through all that stuff, having a meal, hydrating, whatnot, I still felt very tired. And even with a little bit of caffeine in my system, right? And I was we're still really, really tired. So we definitely overdid it a little bit yesterday, but it was a bit of a off day. Just our routine was thrown off because we ended up going out again. We had an appointment to take my guy to last week, which wasn't too big of a deal because it was nearby. But the one yesterday, I had to drive it was about 20 miles away. So it was about half an hour or so each way without the added traffic because of road work. So we were doing a bit more driving, being out on the road yesterday, and then, actually being in another medical setting, and then just other stuff going on. We were also out yesterday at the creek before work and just more interactions with people. So we just physically and then mentally, we were just really running through our energy reserves. Yeah, I don't know. So we try to look at how we allocate or focus our energy on a day-to-day basis. How much is going towards the physical part of our lives that we're expending through physical activities, and then the rest towards mental activities. But I mean, there's no way to 100% balance that every single day, right? So yesterday was just I think we overdid it physically. Yeah, and then we were just kind of exhausted by the end of the day. And then again, woke up this morning still pretty tired. Yeah, we slept like a baby last night though. Yeah, a lot of deep sleep and then REM sleep as well. When we woke up and we were just kind of lounging in bed, we were contemplating some of the dreams that we had just before waking up that we remembered. One of them was we were in an auditorium, and I don't even remember the faces of the people that I was with sitting there, and then standing up with them in the audience. And I don't know, like, if it was, like, supposed to be some sort of, like, concert or, like, a speaking engagement. I don't know. But I remember the one song playing. I think it was Rihanna's song. What was it? Originally, I was thinking of Where Have You Been, which I love that old song of hers. But it was We Found Love. So that was, like, playing really loud. And then I was just, like, standing up with, like, people around me. I think, like, they were, like, girlfriends of mine. I don't know. All kinds of people, whatever. And they were, like, holding their hands in their arms and, like, holding them up with me. And we were just kind of, like, dancing in the stadium seats to this song and, like, singing along. I don't know. So there was that. And then we ended up going, like, running away. And we were, like, behind the scenes doing stuff. And then I was being chased again by, like, this person. And they were, like, this, like, other little group of people. We were trying to, like, go, you know, rescue them or whatever. And then I found myself in some sort of, like, locker room. And I was up on top of the lockers and, like, bouncing, hopping, jumping from, like, one to the other. And I remember they were locked. I mean, it was, like, a locker room because I had, like, that tiley floor. But then the lockers were, like, metal, you know, like, I could hear and feel underneath my feet as I was, like, running across them. And then there was the person down below who was literally trying to, like, grab and, like, nip at my ankles and legs, trying to, like, get me off of them. But I was trying to, like, distract them so that the people who were, it was, like, there was, like, a few people or, like, I don't know, a group or something, and they were, like, stuck or, like, trapped, locked inside this locker. And so I was trying to, like, you know, maneuver around. So that was yeah. Yeah. And now we're here working on our nails. So, okay, not to get too caught up in all this. So I wanted to get my, we've got our board here that we made back in last spring that we've been using. I love this thing. It's so much multi-purposeful. I mean, it was just an old piece of cardboard from an old box. Yeah, I think it was, it says here, what makes something beautiful. I think this was from my air fryer that I got from Walmart. It was from that box. Yeah. So, yeah, and then we just added a bunch of multimedia stuff that we like on here. And we've been using this for when we work on our nails. It's like a little lap desk, but then also, like, we'll eat on this sometimes if we're, like, eating at the couch, and or I'll put my laptop on it. All kinds of things. I don't know. You can do anything with it. It's quite sturdy because we use 2 pieces of wood. Or not wood, cardboard. Anyways, yeah. Maybe one of these days we'll go grab some wood from, like, the Home Depot or something and make it even more sturdy. Anyways. Yeah. Where am I? We've got our timer going. Here, let me see. We can... There, down there. Yeah. We have, like, our timers on our phone that we use. And then I've been, you know... Again, when we're in the flow of things, we have the big one in hot pink on our iPad here, which again we started doing like last spring. And I'm just gonna get some of my little Q-tippies here for my nail polish remover, so I can finish working on our nails while we talk here, which was the impromptu spontaneous plan. Not our original plan, but our secondary plan. Yeah, so but we've been using this timer too. It's actually going to go off here in like 15 minutes. Because originally, like I said, we were going to go out to get a little bit of the... Usually I'll put it in the cap here and then I'll dip into it like that. But it can be messy. Let me see here. Yeah. This is for... getting off the rest of my nail polish that I can't just pick off with my fingers, which I quite like doing initially for a certain amount of time. Like, again, we were doing that for like about like half an hour or so, and then I was like, my fingers were getting tired and sore from it, and then I was like, we're just gonna have to use the nail polish remover for the rest of it, you know. But yeah, we had our timer set, the big one here, so that we could hopefully finish getting ready in time to, again, go out to like the park or the creek or something before work. And then as I was watching the time count down, and I'm just like not anywhere near being done and like not in a rush to be, I was like, we're gonna scratch that plan and just slow things down even more because we're still quite tired from the day prior. And I knew I had a long day ahead of me today. where even though it's only an 8-hour work day, we do have to work into the late evening, early night. You know, I work till like about 9 p.m. some nights. And then by the time I get home, it's closer to like 9:30, sometimes 10. And so it ends up being a long day, especially because we wake up so early in the morning. And because we're in the middle of our like 6-week overtime extra work period of time, then we're all the more like tired. So yeah, today's Wednesday. Usually Tuesday would be like a hump day for us in the middle of the week when we work Monday through Thursday, because I don't always count my Sundays when I go in for like 2 hours. But this week we're working Sunday through Saturday, so it's like a full 7-day work week. So this Wednesday is truly a hump day for us this week. Yeah, and again, we've got like some other things going on at work today, 2 music-related activities. One which happens on a weekly basis, which is just like music therapy, and it's, you know, themed differently every week depending on like what holidays and I don't know, other events in the world and stuff like that. So I don't know what this one will be. It'll be a surprise. But then later this evening, which is a more rare occurrence, is we have an evening concert, which usually they happen in either like the morning or afternoon. So this will be like post dinner time for everyone. Yeah, I think it's like a 6 or 6:30 o'clock. 6:30 o'clock. I think it's 6:30. It's a brass concert. So that'll be nice to go to. Yeah, and so late in the day too. But yeah, we love all of the music related activities. That's one of the things I really enjoy about my job. Yeah. But let's see. So I was thinking about so many different things this morning while I was, you know, just sitting here working on my nails then. And again, I was like, why don't I just make a little impromptu video and we can maybe talk about some of those things? Maybe, I don't know. I think in regards to, like, if we bring the astrology into it, right, like some of my personal placements, and because other than being a Gemini rising, it's also my South Node, opposite of my Sagittarius North Node. And so again, one of the things that we have been mindful of for the past few years or so now has been how we balance those two in our day-to-day life, right? And just like overall, and especially in regards to like our public facing life or career, things like that, right? And more specifically in doing this, right? Like uploading videos online, whatever, YouTube, which is, you know, a newer venture for us. So I still, you know, get a little like iffy about it because part of the Gemini South Node, and I think I've talked about this briefly before, is like the collecting of information, right? So like I'm near constantly like learning new things, reading and just watching things. I mean, I'm a big YouTube lover, right? So like we have so many playlists and just different things that we're watching and we're like studying, we're reading, and just for the sheer pleasure and enjoyment of it for us personally. However, right, like I also understand that there are ways that we can use that collected or gathered information to share more openly and publicly, which not only helps people who would watch us to potentially get to like know and understand us better, like the way our mind works, and the way that we think and feel about things, but then also like that could potentially help, you know, another person. I don't like to approach things when I do them, like including things like this, from the lens or the intention of like necessarily trying to help, you know, but seeing it as more of a like secondary or like byproduct of doing what we love, right? You're just like expressing ourselves naturally and like genuinely as we are, you know, and if that means, you know, it would be of help to someone, then great. But I think it can also be one of those traps we fall into when we make the purpose of something we're doing as solely or primarily being for the help or assistance of other people. At some point that also, I mean, it's also unsustainable, which is why, because if we're not doing something from a place that we're genuinely like interested in, that we're passionate about, that we have genuine love for, then it is destined to fail ultimately, right? Which is why, like, beyond the things that we do in our lives on a day-to-day basis and the things that we produce and create, that is also a big reason why, like, so many relationships struggle and fail too, I believe, for that very same reason. But this is just like in general throughout life, so many different things it applies to. Yeah. So, and again, because I am very like relationship minded, regardless of who people are to me, I tend to, you know, think about these things from that perspective. So I see, you know, the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, little routines, the things that I'm creating like this, right? And the purpose or meaning behind it. And again, I feel like primarily it is because we genuinely want to, we desire to, we enjoy it. And if not, then a lot of times it can be better not to do that thing, or not to allow ourselves to get distracted by or into doing something for other reasons, you know, like being clear on what our reasons personally are for what it is that we do. Just, yeah, 7 minutes left on that timer. Okay. Yeah. I really, I don't know, these little Q-tips, and like, I don't know a better way yet how to completely like remove our remaining nail polish. This is what we've been doing for a while though. Yeah. Maybe one day someone will have a tip for me on a better way, more effective, efficient way to do this. But for now, this is what we do, yeah. And it's usually just on the tips of our fingernails where it gets more stuck. And I thought, because this polish we use is one of our quick dry ones, so they tend to not stick or last as well as like a regular nail polish, like our OPIs or whatever. But I do still use like a base coat nearly every time, and so that helps it last longer. But then we have a harder time removing it. Yeah. So let's see, what are some other things that we were literally talking to myself about, basically? We don't always do that. Sometimes we really do sit in just like straight up silence. But then we have, you know, like music or like little animal nature sounds sometimes too. What I really like is, again, when it's warmer outside, having our patio door open, and then we can hear the actual like birds and like nature outside our door. But when it's freezing like this, no, we ain't doing that. Yeah, we still got the fireplace going now to keep us warm. So these recorded nature sounds help fill in that time and space in between. Yeah. Let's see. So we had a lot we were thinking about, talking to myself this morning, giggling to myself about. Yeah, I don't know if there was any one thing in particular that I was like, oh, I want to share that. I just kind of had the idea. I was like, let me just film a little bit of like what our morning looks like and what's going on, what we're up to right now. Yeah. Because again, we're quite tired still. We overdid it the other day. We're just taking it slow. A little bit slower than originally intended even. Let's see. Well, we got our 2 moon videos left here. We've got the upcoming full moon in Libra, and then we're ending with the new moon in Aries, which will be towards the end of Aries season here, you know, as we're still in between stages of like kicking things off for the new astrological year, and the springtime, and just a lot of ideas of ours that we're, you know, working towards coming to fruition here. I've been discussing, you know, at work with some of the people I work with, different ideas I have there of things we're going to do. You know, because we've been stuck inside for a while too, other than like a few sporadic days here and there where it's been nice enough to go out and like be outside to like sit or walk with my people. So we'll be doing a lot more of that too when it starts warming up more here. Even some places nearby to us that like I could push them in their wheelchair to take like a little afternoon date. Places to like stop and get something to eat or just, you know, get off campus for a while. So we've been talking about some of that stuff. Yeah, getting a TV replaced in our room so that we can have more capabilities of things to do while we're in there. Yeah, because we used to have one of those smart TVs. So then other than regular cable, right, we could also put on like YouTube. And I would utilize that for putting on different artists. We would listen to like live music, concerts, sometimes do like karaoke style lyric videos to sing along with, trivia videos, and then documentary style sometimes, and I'm trying to think what else, sometimes free movies on YouTube. Yeah. So we were used to doing that before, and then since moving to the place where we're currently at and for the long haul here, they have very old style TVs that they were supposed to replace, and then that got thrown off for whatever reason. They don't know why. And so we were told again recently that we could bring in our own smart TV while we wait. So that'll be helpful as well for other activities, things to do. Yeah. Let me see here. It can feel a little weird recording myself so early in the morning again, because this is such like I almost want to say like a sacred time period. It really is though. Like between sleep and waking state, and then like as we like get our day started and like really get moving, get the energy moving, you know, it's almost like the way that I see it and it feels to me is like being underwater, right? And you can like see the currents or like ripples on the surface of the water as if something's moving just beneath the water. Yeah. It's like, you know, I mean, if we look at energy similar to the symbol of like the snake and as it pertains to like Kundalini inside of our bodies, it's just, you know, kind of how we see it. So it's like, you know, we're just kind of like revving our engines, like the energy is just starting to get moving. And obviously energy is constantly moving and flowing, not only throughout our own body, but also within the world. So it's not that it's ever really truly still, but just in regards to like, again, how we work with or co-create with in tandem with that energy, particularly in the start of the day. And how, for me personally, right, like I try to take things slow and work our way into it and up to it. Although I say that, well, you know, one of the first things, again, we'll do sometimes in the morning is, other than like get our watch on, set our timers and stuff like that. Oh, our little timer. Speaking of timers, our one timer just went off. Okay. Yeah, setting our timers and then putting on music. And we really like, you know, and this, we shared our Kanti playlist recently, which we're still, you know, updating on a regular basis. We really like certain kinds of music that are, like, we're more drawn to like fast-paced party club music, things that just like really tickle our brain and our nervous system that feel really good. And so I was listening to one of our songs from that early this morning. It was just like off the walls. But then I very quickly kind of like tone it down from there. It's just kind of like a way to like get ourselves like kick-started and get ourselves like up and out of bed and get rolling. Yeah, especially like on a day like today when we're super tired in the morning still. But then that wasn't how we wanted to continue the morning, so we slowed things back down. Yeah.
It's 11 a.m.
Our one-timer speaks to us. Love that for us. Yeah. I think we've already gotten the one hand done. So now we're working on our right hand. Yeah, 11. I need to leave in like an hour and a half then or so to get to work. We're not going to talk that long though. Yeah, because other than finishing up our nails, we're going to have to actually like go get dressed and do our hair and makeup. So we're already 25 minutes in though. Holy jeez. I feel like I haven't even said that much, but I mean, this is our morning, so it looks like. Yeah, I think part of learning how to control our own energy and how we work with it and co-create with it on a daily basis is understanding the way that we feel within our own body, that we feel the energy moving within our own body, and what we need, not only on a daily basis, but like moment to moment, you know, like how checking in with ourselves. How am I feeling? What am I needing? What am I wanting, desiring, craving, if anything? What am I lacking? What do I have an abundance of? I mean, we can ask ourselves all kinds of questions. Yeah, and then being able to, I mean, if we look at it as like our body as like a kind of machine or vessel, right? And having more flexibility in that, right? Not so that it's so robotic and strict and that like we, you know, do A, B, C and expect, you know, such an outcome to happen, but adopting a more flexible mindset in the way we think about things within ourselves, and then how we're able to change how we relate to our experiences on a day-to-day basis because of the way that we think about them differently, or, you know, simply just like the possibilities, being open to more possibilities, testing that, playing with it, experimenting with it. One of the things that a memory that came to my mind when I was sitting here this morning, and again, I forget what it was exactly that we were thinking about that triggered it, but it was one of the times, this would have been years ago, before Saturn returned. I feel like so many things it's like what, like BC and AD, before Christ, after death. We were reborn during our Saturn return. Yeah, so it's like in our past life, just a few years ago. One of the days that I went tubing down the one creek with some friends, and we wound up emptying out at this one park, and I was thinking about like specifically where it was, the location, and like who lived around there and other people tied to that then. But I was questioning why this specific memory was coming up, and like even some of the people that were involved that like I don't have any sort of relationship to anymore, some who are just, you know, like moved on with their lives, who have passed away, just, you know, grown distant from. And what came to my mind was after we had gotten out of the water, and then we were like standing around, and then even like I think I sat down in the grass for a little while we were waiting to be picked up. You know, I was thinking about how I felt in that moment, and I mean how like happy and content I was to like be sitting in that like little patch of grass, you know, and just like it was good. I mean, I love spending time like in nature, in the water especially, and then with loved ones, with friends. And so like overall, like that kind of experience is something that really like fills my heart and makes me feel like very happy. And you know, we've done a lot of things like this in our life. However, what we've come to learn and like see from some of these experiences, right, is even in my own personal experience and like memories like that, how it differs from other people involved, right? Like the other people that were there with me who had also like gone on that same trip, little ride down the waterway, you know, and then came out with me. Even though we were like traveling on the same path and sharing in this experience together, we still have different mindsets, different ways of like thinking and feeling about things, that it made the experience totally different for them and the way that they would then remember it, right? And again, like one of my observations from past experiences like this is how even in moments like that where I could be so happy and so content and just like genuinely enjoying the experience and like the presence, like being present with the people around me, you know, not everyone is always able to be present themselves, to join us in that presence, and therefore they're not always able to like thoroughly enjoy simple experiences like that when their mind and their heart is somewhere else. And so, I mean, this goes for anything in our life, right? Like if we're not in the present moment experiencing what is right before us, and our mind is stuck on another person, place, or thing, something else happening in life, even if it's not in that very moment, you know, and then it takes us away from, it takes our mind, our focus away from, it takes our heart, our feelings of like presence, of love, of belonging away from that very moment and those people involved with it. And it's sad, right? Because a lot of times people won't become aware of these things until much after the fact. And then, you know, the falling out or like destruction of relationships after the fact, right? And it is a part of life, but it's, you know, it can be sad. So, you know, I was thinking about this memory this morning and thinking about just like the drastic difference and how like my own memory and like experience of something was compared, and then comparing it to like, well, like why, you know, certain things are the way they are, why certain relationships aren't a part of our life anymore. And, you know, just continuing to focus on, you know, what we know and believe to be true, right, for ourselves in our own life, and focusing on like what makes us feel happy and fulfilled. And I think ultimately, again, right, like if we see our lives as a kind of example to the people around us, right, which I feel like is the best force of change that we can really offer, give to the world around us, is not just talking about things and sharing our knowledge, but actually sharing from our genuine experience, like our lived knowledge, our wisdom gained from these experiences, right? And that is best seen and exemplified in how we live our lives, how happy we are, how fulfilled we are, how at peace we are. And that's not to say, right, too, here's the other side of that, right? Because there are plenty of people online, especially when it comes to like the spiritual community, or people who talk about more free-flowing, esoteric kind of topics, things, you know, that have a lot more to do with our ideas and concepts and theories, ideologies, things that can't necessarily be readily proven, but they're just more like liminal, you know, up in the air, but do very much play a integral part of, you know, our life experience, and therefore like how we experience love in our lives, right? With ourselves, with others, with, you know, a higher power, whatever it be. Yeah. And there are plenty of people online who say all kinds of things, who can say anything, really, right? And especially when there is something attached to that in the material realm, whether that be some form of like status or perceived power or control, monetary gain. When these things are attached to what it is that we're doing and creating, it can kind of taint it in a way that, you know, might not have been present otherwise, which is why we have to be careful about who we listen to and who we watch online, as well as who we allow into our lives, like privately behind the scenes. Because they're, you know, nothing is ever as it seems. The way things are shown to us on the surface, the way they're portrayed, the way that they are masked or acted upon, because we're all, you know, little actors and actresses in many ways, right? Like no one is ever 100% fully seen by another person, other than, you know, God itself, the universe itself. But, you know, the more intimately we get to know ourselves and get to know our role in relation to the universe around us, I think the more we're able to see more deeply into other people and the workings of the world then. And so that was the thing. It was like intimacy. The topic of that was coming up with people, right? Because to achieve greater depths of intimacy with another, we have to have that with ourselves. And I think a lot of times what I've run into in the past, like in some of these memories, right, is how, like, no matter how present we can be in a situation, no matter how happy we ourselves can be, content, thankful, just feeling good, we can be sitting or standing right next to someone who's completely miserable, and that can really, you know, affect and interfere with and even sabotage, you know, what could have otherwise been very healthy, fulfilling, satisfying relationships. And that doesn't mean, right, that like our love for another person or group of people has to change. There are so many people that have been in my life who I have loved very deeply and who I still cherish very deeply, like the relationships I've had with them, the experiences, the memories, like we hold them dear. However, we're also very thankful to not have the same level of relationships with those people, or to not have certain people in my life, right? Even if initially when we let certain people go or we distance ourselves from them, and that can be hard and that can hurt sometimes very, you know, deeply, depending on how like deeply we've loved them and how close we were to them. Ultimately, like if we maintain the love and respect we have for them in our heart, regardless of what happens in our lives, then that keeps us on a pretty like even keel, a clean slate, and like feeling good about continuing to move forward with our lives, because we can still see them for who they are, love them for who they are and where they're at, while again like maintaining distance. Again, like if people can't meet us where we're at, if they can't see us, love us just as deeply, right? Like that's okay. That's okay. We can still love them and we can walk away. And in doing so, right, like inviting in more of that presence that we want, more of that genuine, deep intimacy that we want with people who can see us, who can love us in the ways that we want to be seen and loved. Yeah. And again, being thankful for that too. And being able to, again, exemplify that more in the world. And this is part of the reason too why we wanted to, in creating and investing into this platform, right, and our presence here, why we wanted to do so much of it independently to begin with, and not like openly share too much of like our personal relationships, like keeping that part of our life private, Even though like we'll talk about certain things, I don't want to like invite people to like be on like physically to like see or like know names and things like that of our life just yet, because it's important for us to establish ourselves here independently first before we start bringing other people into it. Because again, I also really want to protect those people because we love them very much. So that's that, I guess. This is like a 40-minute video. Oh my god. For a little impromptu yap sesh. It's quite long. Yeah. We're almost done with our nails here. I think I want to go ahead and finish this so that I can get ready for work. And yeah, and upload this then. I don't know, I feel like that's good. That was just one of like many things that we were thinking about this morning, but it was one of the first things that came to our mind as we started talking here, so I guess I thought I would share that. Yeah. And we intend to do, again, a lot more of that here in the near future as we're ramping things up here. But again, we've been taking our time with it, but toying with it like a cat. Yeah, but we have much planned, much in the works here, and this is just a small little blip of that. Yes, okay. I'm gonna go now. Have a good rest of the morning, day, whatever, whenever this actually uploads itself. I don't know. All right, bye-bye. I love you.